everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Wide Open with Ashlyn Harris. Today, I can't wait to introduce our guest, Marion Jones. Welcome to the podcast. You're one of my favorite humans. We caught up maybe, 2 weeks ago? Had such a great conversation, and we both went to the University of North Carolina. You played hoops.
Yeah.
And have always been an incredible track star. And now you're out, you're back on the grind, you were on special forces.
Yeah, thank you, Ashlyn. It has been an incredible ride, to say it lightly. But it's always a pleasure when I get an opportunity to share and talk with folks whom, we have a special bond in that we made a decision to attend the best university in the land. So that there's that. So, we're very, very smart individuals.
Yes.
But in addition to that, Ashlyn, getting a chance to share who I am with somebody whom I respect at another level makes it even more enjoyable. And it also makes the journey, which we know, can be a challenging one when there are hiccups along the road, and to be able to communicate with somebody who understands that and can help the world sift through it all makes it even better. So I'm just excited to hop into all things.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that. And what I'll say is, Marion co-hosts a podcast called Second Wind, and I was lucky enough to be on it and kind of share a little bit of my story. And a lot of it was centered around me. But what I love so much about you is your bravery to stand in the pain and talk about it and share your scars and, come forward with your truth in a lot of different ways, in a lot of aspects. There's so much courage and bravery in it. And anyone who knows your story knows what you've had to walk through. That's a huge testament to your character. And I'm grateful for you to do that because it is not easy. And it is not easy by any means. And now to come out and stand in your truth and come out as being a queer woman, I just think there's so much beauty in showing the world that no matter what age you are, we get second chances at life, and it's our job to take them and be resilient and show up.
Yeah, no doubt. I almost find that we have a certain sense of responsibility when we have, in essence, been given the baton, no pun intended, right? or the torch in regards to some being felt that we would be in a position when we are on this planet to have a big voice, to have a big presence, right? Mm-hmm. So I find that it's almost our responsibility to, once things happen in our life, good, bad, and everything in between, that you don't disappear, that you stand in it, even sometimes if it's funky. You're standing in your shit, right? And for folks like myself and you and others, for us to just say, you know what, I'm just gonna just be in my little world here, right? And I'm not gonna share my experiences, the good and the bad, with anybody else because one, maybe it's too painful, maybe I don't want to be embarrassed, maybe it's gonna be costly, right? It's gonna take a financial hit to me. That's all a bunch of crap. But I've also, Ashlyn, had to grow into it, right? I would tell you, at 21 years old, when the shit was hitting the fan, right? I was not in this space to be able to share all my stuff. I mean, we can get into some of the nitty gritty, Ashlyn, but when I was released from federal prison, right? And really unsure of what the future held. I knew that I had a passion for sport, and I wanted to be competitive somehow. I was still fairly young, but what would that look like in the world of sport? So, I wanted to try my hand in basketball. And I did that, and I made a WNBA team, the oldest rookie ever to do that. And that kind of fizzled out for a little bit. And then I'm like, well, who else are you, Marion? Because for so much of our lives, and I include you in
Yes.
this, like
Yes.
our sport was who we are. Who are you, Marion? Oh, I'm an athlete. Who are you, Ashlyn? Oh, you're a rock star
Soccer player.
And
Yep.
beyond that, like I would just like who am I?
Fuck. Yeah. Who are we? How do we show up? How do we move in the world?
Without sport. And it bled into everything. And it bled into relationships. It bled into like, And so I'm actually so grateful. And I know I'm just kind of going all over the place here, but I'm grateful for the times that I was forced to spend with my shit, with myself.
Yes.
And that happened to be incarceration, right? 49 days in solitary confinement, whereby I had to say, all right, like pump the brakes, Marion. You are so much more than what the world thinks you are. Okay.
Yeah.
Was I blessed, Ashlyn, to be able to run from here to there very fast? Was I blessed to be able
Fastest woman on the planet, babe.
Right. Or it's to steal a
Fastest
ball,
woman
right? Or
yeah.
make a layup or whatever. But that's not who you are. That's what you do. Right. And you, Marion, and I'm talking about myself for a second in the third person. I don't always do this. But
I love it.
You are so much more than that. Like my mom is a rock star human, right? She made the decision when she was young. She was pregnant with my older brother. I have one sibling. He's 5 years older than me. And she made the decision when she's from a small country in Central America by the name of Belize. And she became pregnant with my brother. And she made the decision, you know what? My current situation is not one that I want for myself anymore, nor my babies. So I am going to make that trek and get up to the States to try and provide a better life for them. And in my darkest moments, Ashlyn, and they were dark, right?
Yeah.
Like, I told you 49 days locked up, right? 23 out of 24 days unable to go outside. And sometimes because of where I was incarcerated here in Texas, some of the guards didn't even want to take me out for the 1 hour of rec time because it was so hot.
Yeah.
And in those moments where I'm like, would this be what Marion Loyce, that's my mom's name, Marion also. I used to call her Big Marion, me Little Marion. Now it's the other way around.
I love it. I love it.
Is this what Marion Loyce envisioned for her babies? Is this what and who I am, right? Is this like the product of all of the sacrifices that she made?
Yeah.
And once I put it in that perspective, I'm like, well, hell to the no, it's not. Did I make some poor decisions? Did we go a little bit off track? But that's not going to define me. And I refuse to allow it to define me. Right. And so that is when the growth like started. And I don't know, honestly, Ashlyn, I don't know if without having that quiet time, even though it was forced upon me, right? To just sit with myself, if I would have come to that moment that I am not what I do.
Yes.
And so when I say that I'm grateful for it all, that's what I mean. And when I say, are there regrets? Sure, whatever, right? Are there moments? But man, I don't know. I'm going to tell you, because I am not the woman that I am today. I mean, you hear it all the time from people whom have perseveres and who are so resilient. You hear it from them all the time. I'm not the person who I am today if I hadn't gone through my stuff.
Yes, I agree. We speak the same language, and I'll say this for those of you who are listening or watching, and who don't know the background of Marion. I mean, she was, you're the trailblazer on and off the field. You're a phenom. I mean, how many people can literally say, "Oh, I went to the University of North Carolina, played basketball, won a national championship, and became one of the most like fastest women on the planet." And Sydney, you in 2000 you won 5 medals, and you were the first Black female athlete on the cover of Vogue. Like, you were everywhere. Like, it was insane. And then what happened was, I don't want to speak for you as you live this. This is when performance enhancement drugs started really hitting the scene. And I am younger than you, and I understand what you sacrifice at all costs to be the greatest.
I smile now. There was a time, Ashlyn, when I would cringe when people would like make comments, or I there was a lot of disappointment in all of it with me. Like I've dealt with the familial disappointment, like disappointing my family and my close people, and that is actually a constant that I struggle with and that I deal with often still. But this idea that in the past, when people would comment and they would say certain things about my legacy and my career and all that, and it would just get under my skin and eat me up, and I just kind of have to like swallow my words. And now I'm at a point where like, cool, like what were you doing when you were 20, 18, 19, 23? Like, did you have a microscope on you? Were you getting paid millions of dollars and everybody in your circle were patting you on the back and they were your yes people? I don't know. And people listening to that, they're like, well, what is that? These are people who are around you and they tell you yes to everything. Yes, you're awesome. Yes, you're beautiful. Yep. Yes, that's the right decision, right? And if you're around that long enough, you start to like it. And you start to say, you know what? I have the resources and the power to only surround those people with me, and the people who are going to give it to me straight, like my mama, like my close friends. I'm going to distance myself from them because I don't have to hear them telling me that I'm not great or beautiful, right? And that's what happens. And so I just smile now when people will comment, because that stuff now is, we think differently. We, meaning elite, right? Like elite thinkers, elite musicians, elite athletes. We think differently in that people can come at us all they want, and they don't understand how when you get to a certain level of maturity in your growth, like we use that shit as fuel. Right? Like I'm training right now, Ashlyn, for a triathlon. Don't ask me how I get myself into this stuff, but
because we're used to pain. We feel comfort in the suffering, girl. Right. What do you mean?
This idea of fuel is in my everyday vocabulary, because triathletes, they talk about fueling their workouts nonstop. But I like to laugh. Like I love the critics now. Like it's like, yes, come at me right now, so that just for a moment I can turn that dang mirror around and say, okay, well, tell me about your 20s to 30s, right? Tell me about your 30s to 40s. Tell me about your childhood, right? And are you able to now stand in it all and share with the world with the hopes of helping people realize that they don't have to stay stuck there? Ashlyn, that's where I'm at right now. The mantra is what? You don't have to stay stuck in your stuff. You don't have to.
Yeah.
When you do, you're making a decision to stay there. You don't have to. There are resources, there are tools, things that you can learn. Your failure in life doesn't have to stay there forever. Right?
And that's where the power lies.
No doubt. And then the last one that I share is like, we all have setbacks, right? How can you use it as a catalyst, right, for your biggest comeback? And they're like, I don't know. I was like, hey, here, just follow my journey. Right?
Yeah.
If you need a living example, right? Like log into this damn podcast, follow Ashlyn's career, follow Marion on Instagram, whatever. If you're looking for it, it's out there. We're here.
It's out there.
You just gotta like.
And we're humanizing it though. Like that's the problem, is humanizing it. And like, I want to talk about the price of greatness that people don't know, right? So people always think, I want to be rich. I want to be powerful. It's the American mentality, right? But people don't understand the toll it takes on being the one. People don't understand the pressure to perform at all fucking cost. People don't know the difference, like, ambition, expectation, like what is right, what is wrong.
And then you throw in that pot of goodness that you just shared, the pressures of being a woman of color, right?
Yes.
The pressures of being a queer woman before I was even comfortable with sharing with the world, and for fear, right? That is going to negatively impact me financially and whatever else. And that I've found, and I've been able to identify now, Ashlyn, as I'm about to turn 50 this year, which is mind blowing. Like, we celebrated a few years back, we celebrated 30 years from the time we won the national champion. Like, it's
crazy.
What? That is crazy, right? That is crazy.
It's crazy.
Maybe it's crazy because, every year during March Madness, they show the shot that we won. So it's kind of constantly relived. Yeah. But that's insane. But I find now I can put a word to it. It is a very lonely journey. People are like, I want to be a success, like you said. I want to be rich. I want to be on the cover of this, on this. People are not ready. Many people are not ready. You think you see, like, especially with social media, you only see the beautiful, the nice
the
stuff,
good, the highlights. What we call the highlights.
People don't know that I'm going to throw a number to it, 99.8% of the time, it is a dark place to get there. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You see success, you see the gold medals, you don't know that I struggle with stuff growing up in terms of a parent whom turned their back on my mom and I. Right. And although I wanted to be a part of his life and him see my successes and all that, he chose not to the point I get to Carolina. Let me tell you a quick story that it all came about. I get to Carolina. We win the national championship my freshman year. My sophomore year, we make it to the Sweet 16. So we have to fly out to my hometown in Los Angeles. And we're playing Stanford. And we're down at halftime. We're just struggling. And I run to the locker room. But before I get there, I look into the fans and I see my father. Now, I hadn't seen my father in maybe 5 or 6 years. He had cut off all communication with me, etc. And I see him, right? But I'm running into the locker room and it makes me excited. Like, at that point, I'm really wanting his approval. Right.
Yeah, of course.
Look what I've been doing, Dad. Right. Like I'm doing something. It's big. It's great. And he just never responded in high school and on all of that. And I see his face, Ashlyn, and it kind of pumps me up. I'm like, well, we wound up still losing to Stanford, and that's emotional and everything. And I come out, and my mom had driven. By that point, she had moved to North Carolina, right? So she was there. Mm-hmm. And I came out mainly because I just wanted to see him, man. I wanted to, like, hug him, and he was gone. Like, I could never find him. And that was actually the last time that I saw him, because after I won in the Olympics a number of years later, 2001, I get a call that my father had passed away. Mm-hmm. Right? And so, like, people don't know, in all of those moments, all of those awards and celebrations, and like how hard it was not to know why he made certain choices. And we all do, right? Like, especially now that I'm 50, we all got different reasons why we do stuff. And the idea of not having any of those questions answered now forever, is hard. And
it does something to someone, It's hard. I don't care how much work you do on yourself, Marion. Like, it does something to someone, and you internalize that.
People only see the gold medal, and people only see all that other stuff. They don't know that there is a demon in there that is many times you're not high, that you don't want the world to see. You know
No, you're
that.
pushing it. You're like, nope, don't come out now.
Yeah,
Don't
like
you
this
come out
is
now.
this
Push
is
it
what
down.
Mikey wants to see, right? Like this
Yep.
is what I'm gonna make them see exactly what they want to see, which is not a queer woman of color during that time, right?
Yeah.
Like I
I actually
recognize
didn't
that.
know. I didn't know that about you,
Yeah.
Marion. I didn't know that you already knew
Oh yeah, I
25
knew for a
years
very long
ago.
time. You know, there's
When
also
did you know? I'm
we
curious. Please.
um probably high school. Um,
Wow.
yeah, there and yeah. Also, there's pressure that I've never even really talked about, Ashlyn, in that my family on my maternal side. I shared they're from Belize, right, which is a
Mm-hmm.
very they were a former British colony, right? And so they're very, very conservative, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even
Mm-hmm.
now, like I'll tell you, even now. And so growing up in a household whereby I knew that it wasn't a thing, like it better not be a thing, right? Like this is the way it should be, men and women and families and babies, and that is how it should look. And so you have that pressure that one, again, I go back to not wanting to disappoint the woman who risked it all for
All of it.
me, right? And
To
how much
give you a better
respect
life.
I have
Yeah.
for her and her journey, and how this will be interpreted by her and her countrymen and women, right? Whereby
Yeah.
now, as a parent, I know, and of course, now with my relationship with my mom that has blossomed, that it didn't need to be that. I could have 1000% been able to share with her who my authentic self was,
Yeah.
and she would have still loved and embraced me no matter what. So if there are regrets when people are like, there must be, let me tell you, that's the fucking regret. Sorry,
Yes.
Ashton, the
No,
regret,
we're past that. You be you.
the regret that my mom and I had to go through so many years and decades of disconnect because I felt that was what I needed to do. Besides all the other stuff, right? Besides telling the world, whatever, when it's your mama, right? And how our relationship has manifested now because I'm my authentic self and wishing that I could get all of those years back, right?
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
very raw and real with me right now just because like knowing that it hurt her for her daughter to be like disconnected.
Yeah.
Right?
And I want to dive into that a little bit because I
Yeah.
can tell it's bumping you.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about, because I think it's really important because you have gone through so much.
Yeah.
You were sentenced to you were locked up and all of this stuff in the public eye was unfolding. So many people had judgment. So many people had something to say. And I'm curious because I know I'm a mom, you're a mom. The shame and the private healing and that amongst those walls where the only person you can talk to is yourself and your soul. And I'm curious what that like was, walk me through that. What is the difference between the guilt and the shame? Where's the power in between it? Where do I even begin where do you begin to forgive yourself?
Yeah, as I've shared, the moments that were the deepest and darkest were, during those 49 days, but they were also the most enlightening. Because, people don't know, I say, but people don't know, when you are in what they call the SHU, which is just a way for you to say solitary confinement. Generally, most of your privileges have been taken away, right? So I'll give a little bit of background on why I was in solitary, first of all. I was sentenced to 6 months incarceration for lying to federal investigators. That was my offense. And when I was initially sentenced on that particular day in New York, my legal team and I went into the sentencing fairly confident, Ashlyn, that I would be sentenced to some form of probation. Okay. They do an extensive investigation on the individual and the benefits of incarcerating somebody versus them being on probation and essentially using their mess to teach. So the recommendation from the court, even before we went into the sentencing, was that Marion most likely would be given probation. Although we knew that there was a chance that time could be had, I stepped in there with confidence, and so did my legal team. And so 3 hours later, I had to look to my left and my right, to my attorneys, and I said, hold on, did I hear this guy, the judge, say that I was sentenced to 6 months incarceration? And they were almost flabbergasted as well. Like, we think
What?
so. And in essence, what it came down to, and the judge shared this, that I was, of course, being used as the example. You know, the 20 plus athletes that were involved in all of this. Somebody needed to be the example. When I was initially sentenced, I was sentenced to some hardcore federal prison. I don't know. And like, I don't even remember this, like in Mississippi or somewhere. It wasn't Martha Stewart type, like incarceration, right? Thankfully, at the last moment, they moved me closer to home in Fort Worth. And there's 2 parts of the federal prison in Fort Worth, Texas. It's called Carswell. There is a campsite, Ashlyn, whereby they are offenders that like fudge on their taxes, like, no, not hardcore offenders. And across the street behind the barbed wire, there are your hardcore offenders, murderers, whatever. So I was on the campsite, right? And I was functioning in there. I was, figuring it out and trying to understand and learn the prison way. And I have no background, Ashlyn.
Whatever that look, I mean, yeah.
Nobody in my family. I mean, the only exposure I had to it was that show Locked Up.
Hell yeah, I watched that too.
I love that damn show. And so
I'm glad you can laugh about it now.
You have to now, right?
You have to now.
I didn't have any prison sense, and I found out quickly, right, that there are some haves and have-nots even in prison. The haves are people whom have a support system on the outside, people whom will write them, and you can call, and they will put money on your book so that you can get commissary. And then you have the have-nots. And these are people, unfortunately, who maybe have been in the system for so long, Ashlyn, they have no support system. So they don't have anybody who writes to them. They don't have anybody who puts money on their books for the basic necessities. And so the way the system works is by, if you're part of the have-nots, you have a trade. You have a skill that you, in essence, sell so that you can have money on your commissary. Yeah. And I learned that. Of course, I had folks supporting me and I had money, plenty of money on my commissary to buy stuff. So I had a roommate who was part of the have-not, and she offered, her skill was washing clothes. Let me tell you why it's a big thing in prison. Because they only have 2 or 3 washers and dryers on the campsite, and you have to stand there the entire time or somebody will steal your shit, okay?
Wow.
So I hired her to wash my stuff because I worked out a lot. Again, that's my release from it all. I left my prison time more in shape than when I went to the Olympics. That's how much I worked out. Because of that, I had a lot of sweatsuits and I needed to wash it often. Well, I started to notice, Ashlyn, that some of my stuff was missing. And I'm paying her in commissary, of course, to make sure my stuff is. And you find out very quickly, Ashlyn, that you do not confront anybody. Right? Like you don't do that. So I have to figure out a way how to tell this individual that I don't want to use her services anymore in a way that she's not going to take offense. And so I decided you don't do it in front of anybody else. You do it one-on-one, which I did. And then I realized later on, though, but what I did really was I took away her ability to get anything from commissary by saying, hey, and the way I said it was, hey, I'm not going to need for you to do that anymore. I'm going to wash stuff myself. I did it very gently, lightly.
Yeah.
Well, she didn't take it very well. And there was an altercation to the point where I had to run. I mean, there were fisticuffs, all kinds of stuff.
Oh,
blocking
shit.
the door, had to run, find the guard. the guard then takes us both to the other side, the real prison side, while they do an investigation, which took 49 days. Her word versus my word. So that is why I was in solitary for 49 days, right? Again, though, like your reaction is this, but Ashlyn, it was such a blessing. Because if I was on the camp side and I'm doing my job and I'm functioning and I'm doing Marion type things, which means I'm connecting with people and I'm forming relationships and I'm learning and all of that, I don't know if I would have had time to pause enough, even in prison, the camp side, as opposed to when I was 23 out of 24 days where I was just by myself. And so to kind of wrap this story, bring it in for a landing, you talked about like what it all looked like. Initially, dark, right? I journaled a lot. I, beat myself up. Like, how could you had made certain choices? Why did you surround yourself with people who wouldn't be solid with you? Or why couldn't you identify red flags in relationships and all that? And then you just get to a point, probably 2, 3, 4 weeks into my time in solitary. I'm like, well, what is that? Like, what's that doing for you? Like, is that going to help me when I get out to figure out who I am, who I'm going to become? Is that going to provide a living? Like, why?
Yeah.
And so I just got to a point where I'm like, done with the fucking tears. I'm done with them. I'm done with the apologies. I stood on the courtroom steps after the sentencing. I stood on the courtroom steps and I had made the decision, even prior to the sentencing, Ashlyn, that for the last time, I was going to share with the world, like, this is what happened, and I apologize, right? Because also, I asked for acceptance with the world, right? Like, I wanted to be on the cover of every magazine, right? Like, I wanted the fame, I wanted the money, and I brought the whole world with me. And when I made certain poor choices, I disappointed many, many people, and they deserved an apology. So that's why on the courtroom steps, in front of, I don't know, somebody brought up the other day, it must have been 1,000+ cameras. I shared that I had made a poor choice and I am accepting my consequences. And the moment that I knew, Ashlyn, that I was going to get through it all, this was even before I surrendered and turned myself in for the 6 months. On those courtroom steps, my mom's hand was on my shoulder, right? And she's rubbing my shoulder and she's whispering in my ear with all the cameras and the questions. She said, "You got this. You're going to get through this. We're going to get through this." And people have asked how, when, like, that is the moment for me that I knew that it was going to be hard, right? I'm no stranger to hard stuff, to discomfort, as we talk about. I knew that it was going to be dark, hard moments, but then the next day would bring some light. And I decided while I was in the SHU, while I was locked up in solitary, that when the time was right, Ashlyn, that the world was going to hear the whole story. They were going to hear about the mess. They were going to hear how I was able to deal with it, get through it, like all of it. When I was ready, when I also felt like my family was ready. At that point, I had two kids, 2 boys. And
that's what people don't know. Like, you were doing this when you had 2, like, you were a new mom.
And it was also the catalyst, though, to say, you know what, like, it's time to share with the world what it is. Because as you know, when you have kids, everything you say and you don't say, everything you do and don't do, like, affects them.
Yep.
And so during that time, when I was being investigated and everything, and I'm claiming that I didn't know what I had been given and all that type of stuff, and right, I'm turning around and coming home and telling my kids, like, when you make a poor choice, right, you tell me and we deal with the consequences. And what a hypocrite! Yeah, like, I was living, and then I'm like, wait, no. At one point in my kids' lives, they're going to do the timeline. right? And they're going to say, okay, mom was an elite athlete. She was this, and she made poor choices. And then she had us. And then she was still telling lies, but then telling us not to lie? What? No. Pump the brakes. I don't care what the consequences are going to be. And certainly I didn't at that point know what they were going to be. But I don't care. Because this means more to me than any of it. Right? If I lose it all, I lose it all. But at least I have the respect of my babies. Right?
Yeah.
And that was the huge
beautiful.
catalyst. Right?
Yeah.
And so now I can stand here and I go back to this idea of pride, knowing that my kids, right? And they're old enough now. I have a 21, a 17, and a 15. And they know the story, right? And when they dissect it all, if they haven't yet, they will, right? I've raised some incredible humans that are going to make such an incredible impact in the world. And what I am most proud of in my life to having do that and doing that. But now it's time. Right? My quiet time is done. My time now is to shout it. Right?
I love that.
Whoever needs to hear it. People who are not even a fan, Ashlyn, of sport, who could care less how fast I ran, how many soccer balls you blocked, right? But they now are in some shit and they need to hear from somebody who has lived it, that it's possible to get out of it.
Yep.
Right? And that is the moment that, you know what? I'm going to shout. I don't care if there's still doors slammed. Ashlyn, I don't care if there's some people out there, they're like, I don't want to hear from her. She's a cheat. Or I don't want to hear from her because she lied. Okay. Bye, Felicia. Is that what the kids say now? Bye, Felicia.
Or just unsubscribe.
Right. Yeah. My voice will not be stifled. I am not going to have, as you talked about earlier, like my narrative written for me anymore. So that is the moment, right? Where, you talk about empowering, you talk about strength. You talk about like, that's the fuel that gets me up. Now, in all of it, Ashlyn, and my tone will change just for a millisecond. I don't want anybody hearing this to think that that they're not days. They're not moments.
Oh, yeah.
That I sit and I stew in it, right? And then I don't, there's not sadness and anger and humiliation and embarrassment. It's not that. But I just don't stay there for longer than however long. Right?
No,
right?
that grief still lives within you.
It stays.
Yeah.
And that you're better equipped with how to deal with
to handle it. Yeah. I got to ask this as you say this. It's just, I'm, as we spoke, a few weeks ago, I am in the journey now of my second wind, and you're so true and sure of who you are. And you talk about this really important moment where your mom puts, her hand on your shoulder and just shows you like, I'm here, like I got you and we're in this together.
Grace. She still shows
grace. Just grace. Yeah. Who showed up for you when everyone else left besides your mom? Because that's been my biggest struggle. I'll be real honest. That's been my biggest struggle is when all this shit, happened. And all these people, it opened the door to all these opinions and expectations and who you were and how you showed up as a mom and your character. Who showed up when everyone else left?
That's hard. It's not hard because I don't know. It's hard to express it because people are people. And let me explain what I mean by that. There were people along the way that were there. Okay. They were there when it's convenient for them. And what's hard about it is to think about it, right? Like to know that even some of them are my friends now, right? So that's what's hard, right? Is because it's not a conversation that has been had with them because it's hard. Because I want to say like, yeah, you were there, but when it's convenient for you, right? And yeah, mama. It makes for establishing a community of friends hard, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, and if you have that, great. But I find that like trust issues, and people might even turn it around and say, "Well, we don't trust you, Marion." Well, like I have a very, very hard time with uh, establishing a circle because of my lack of trust. That when and if things go sour, people won't just disappear.
Mm-hmm.
I know Mama's not disappearing. I know my brother. I should have also said my brother and my mother. Like they've always been there. But, and I am confident that I have a partner now that's not going to disappear. And now I have brought 3 kids in the world. They're not disappearing. They need Venmo, Cash
Mm-mm.
App, all that. No, they're not going anywhere. But right,
Damn, and they're expensive.
but
Yeah.
beyond that, there's just that caution
Mm.
to create a community whereby, man, if hiccups happen in life, and they do, and they will, like who is going to be around for it all? And I'm confident I've put together some people now that will, but there's always that. And
Yeah.
that's a lonely place to live and to function and to grow old with. And that's what I have to hold on to. So that's tough. That's hard. That's a really
Yeah.
good question, Ash, and I've never been asked that.
Oh, well, I feel like we connect on a lot of levels. And, I'm, as you know, going through my second wind right now, and I'm grieving in the process. I'm parenting in the process. And I agree. I have moments of great grief and shame. And, I have 2 very young kids who see that,
And
and it's hard. And sometimes it's okay just to say, man, it's fucking hard.
yeah, yeah. And I'll tell you though, Ashlyn, what an incredible role model you are, in that even when we talked a few weeks back, and how you parent and who you are, in that you are so transparent when it
Hmm.
comes to your babies and to your kids. And for me, that was everything, right? Like
Mm,
how all of this would shape my kids' lives.
mm,
Transparency, authenticity, that they see the good days, right? With
hmm.
mom or mama, I don't know what they call
I'm
you.
mama. Yeah,
Mama.
I'm
They
mama.
see the good days, they see the hard days, they see how you navigate it, you talk them through it. And as they get older, I know they're young, but as you get older, like continue to do that just on whatever level they're at. So I'm giving you like high five, like
Thank you.
we all need encouragement, and I'm here to say, looking from the outside in, and what you've shared and what I've learned about you, like that is the example that you are setting, that all of us can look towards. So keep doing
Thank you
it,
for
Ashley.
yeah.
Keep doing
Thank
it,
you
all
for
right?
saying that. And I
Yeah, you're
appreciate
welcome.
that. And I'm grateful that you said that and you've taken the time, and I see a lot of myself in your struggle, and it humanizes it for me, and it lets me know I'm going to be okay too.
No doubt.
And I appreciate your vulnerability and your honesty. And and this is the big part, and this is the next part I want to talk about, your willingness now to come out publicly and be in the public eye again and really start talking about it. Because if you didn't choose to do that, we wouldn't be having these incredible conversations, and just share space and feelings. If you chose to continue working on yourself behind the scenes and not in the public eye. So I want to ask that question, because you did decide to do special forces, which is such of course you did. Of course you did special forces. I mean, what are we talking about? But I want to know why you chose, you spoke about it a little bit. I want to know why now have you made the choice to really come out and talk about what you went through and talk about your story and your life.
Well, there are a lot of layers to that. I'll speak on the special forces opportunity, in that um, it was, I don't know, it was God in some
Hmm.
way, because I had made the decision about a year and a half ago that the story in my head and heart and body wasn't helping anybody,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like just staying there. And how to strategically start to share with people who I am, why I am, who I more importantly see myself becoming, because I think we're all a work in progress.
Yes.
Um, and like, you know, how do I do that authentically? I stem from a culture where you don't really put your dirty laundry out there, right? Like it's kind of looked down on to do that. And then you start to realize, well, Marion, you need to come into, it's not going away. So how do I leverage that in a way that truly shows who I am, right? There's no way that I could have come back on the scene, Ashlyn, and not be authentic, right? Like
Yeah.
it almost had to be, right?
Yeah.
And so the idea that when I came back on, I didn't even realize that it was a thing, Ashlyn, that people didn't realize that I was out or whatever, because for my time, the decade that I made the decision to be in my community and my family and raise my kids, like I was out, right? Like,
Yeah.
and so when I made a decision to like be back in the world, it was almost like somebody said, wait, the world doesn't know that like you have a partner. And I was like, oh, okay. So I guess I got to share that. So that, and so it was almost like a flippant type thing that I'm like, hey, y'all, it's Pride. This was last year Pride or something, like it's Pride. And it really resonates with me because, right, this is who I am. And again, the reason that I think it came across so authentically was because like it wasn't a thing. Yo, this is it. But the special forces thing was important because one, we crave, and I know you experience this as well, but I need some type of physical challenge. I need that. It's in my DNA. And having had to distance myself from it, like competitively for lots of reasons, but also because of age and injury and grade 4 arthritis in both knees and that type of
Yeah.
stuff. And I moved away from it, but it's still, right?
Yep.
Like the special forces was a very interesting for me in that I would be challenged physically. I would be challenged emotionally and mentally, and it would give me a platform to be able to say, yo, I'm back. This is who I am. This is where I'm at. And so that's why I made the decision to do it. And it checked all of those boxes.
Yeah.
And I felt, anytime I have a love-hate relationship with the media, understandably so.
Of course you do.
And
Don't we all?
making the decision, right? Making the decision, Ashlyn, though, to sign up for a show whereby I don't have editing rights was a scary one because at the end of the day, I don't know how they can edit however they want to make whomever look like a god or the devil. Right.
Yeah.
And so by
Yeah.
making the decision and putting myself back out there and making that scary choice that, okay, I'm going to like put it in the hands of somebody else. I'm going to be who I am on the show. But ultimately, let me turn on the TV and see whom they decide to create me to be.
Yeah.
And you know what? I was able to say at the end of the day, good decision, Marion, because whatever they saw in how I was on the show and how I competed and how I fought and was what they saw and what they made and what they decided to portray to the world.
And you really did show that to the world. And I want to say thank you. I appreciate all the things that you show up and continue to do to make this world better. And it really shows me that your journey, this whole redemption thing about like erasing the past, it's really not about that. It's the bravery to rise again and to grow and to lead with honesty and love. And a lot of people see that in you, and you heal them in the process of the things that they're having to be honest and brave about. So I have to say thank you.
And that makes it worth it, Ashlyn, right?
Yeah.
Like it makes our dark days, or even our current dark days, that makes it worth it when people see that and maybe they're inspired by it. Maybe they're inspired to make some type of change in their own life. Like that to me makes it worth it. Like we were meant here. We were meant to be here to be an example. Right.
Yes.
And that's what and I include you in this, Ashlyn, that's what we are doing. So yay.
Yep. Second win, second chances. It's about courage and bravery. So thank you for being that for us, and thanks for being on Wide Open, and I'm grateful for your story and all of it.
Yeah, thank you, Ashlyn. It's been
You're
awesome.
the best.
It's been awesome.
Thank you.
You bring me back and we can talk all other things, okay?
Let's do it. Yes, let's do it. Thanks everybody for
Yeah.
tuning in. Marion, again, thank you for your vulnerability. Thank you for being wide open. And please tell everyone about your podcast and where they can check you out.
Yeah, check out Second Wind anywhere you listen to your podcast. Ashlyn will be on the show. We're so excited to be able to share all the goodness that you all already that are listening know that she is, but to be able to even talk to you about it was a pleasure. So thank you for having me on.
Appreciate it. Go Heels.
Yeah, go Heels.